All right. So a first-time home seller. So I have a lot of folks that have bought a home, never had to sell a home. And so some questions that are unique to first-time home sellers, it's where do I start? And oftentimes sellers start by just wanting to understand what their value of their home is, because the valuation of their home might dramatically impact the choices and the decisions they make next. So I would start with understanding your home's value, and same thing goes. Appraisal, not necessary. All you need is a good local agent to give you an estimate of your home's value, and that's where I'd start. And so same thing, I'd personally start asking for references, and then I'd interview an agent. And that's how I would do it. Same thing as a first-time home buyer, first-time home seller.
Should I put attention to for example, the prices that Zillow gives us or Redfin gives us, and to whatever number is there, could I rely on that number to the price of my home? Or
it's a marketing site, so it did its job by getting you on the website. Zillow is paid for agents by me. I have a huge monthly bill to Zillow, and so do a lot of other big agents that advertise on these type of portals.
Yeah.
And the purpose of a Zestimate, as they call it, is to get you to click on the button. And so that's the job. So now, is it accurate? Somewhat, but
because the difference, for example, in my home, right now it's less, but there was a point that there was $100,000 of difference in the valuation.
When you look at the small, the fine print, it's plus or minus 20%. Now remember, plus or minus. So if they give you a number and say your home is worth $500,000, it's $100,000 up or below.
Yeah.
So technically, it's $600,000 to $400,000 could be the Zestimate, but they're going to give you an average. Let's call it a $500,000.
Okay.
Now, more unique properties that aren't, your average cookie cutter townhome, there is not a chance any Zestimate could ever do it.
Yeah.
And so really a Zestimate is pretty accurate, honestly, for more simplistic real estate. And that's why a lot of these home, like these iBuyers, they call them, the platforms out there, which many have gone bankrupt, by the way, or have stopped altogether. Zillow used to buy homes directly. They stopped all that. They went bankrupt, or at least that division did, and they shut it down. They lost tons of many millions of dollars because it's really difficult to do just that. And so, you have to go through there. You need someone experienced to walk through it. Preferably, this is my preference, you have someone that works with buyers and sellers, because I compete on the listing side with some listing agents that are very well known. They don't work with buyers. And they get almost, the dream is to work solely with sellers. That's what most agents aspire to do. It's a much easier lifestyle. You get a client, you sign them, you sit at home. It's much easier rather than having to work open doors and work with a buyer. Much more lengthy of a process and much harder. And so typically they all go for the listing side. And so when they haven't toured 100 homes a week, on a consistent basis, maybe not 100, but even 20, you don't have the pulse.
That's a really good point. And
so I do both. I still work with both. And, I'm doing this every podcast practically. I have an appointment right afterwards. I was listing or a buyer. So it's, I'm going to see homes right after this. And it's like, so you have to understand the market of the moment and that changes. So someone that only hears buyers, for example, or only listens to the sellers, they can somewhat be disassociated with the reality, and it shows up eventually, but they might not know it first.
Yeah.
So Zestimate, it's fine. It's a marketing piece. It's great. If you're not really interested in selling tomorrow, it's interesting, and anyone of my clients listening to this, they're like, Matt, you sent us that automated stuff. I send it to you. It's useful. It's an indication of the general market trends.
Idea.
It's an idea, but I'm not going to lie to you. The reason I send it is because if you're really starting to get interested, what do I hope you do? Hope you click the button.
Call me.
I'd rather you click the Matt Rhine button in my marketing to say, Matt, help me understand my home's value. Because if I'm not sending you that information, what are you doing? You're on Zillow. You're on one of these other sites that are offering that as a value.
Yeah.
So You know, that's how I would approach that.